The world is given into the hands of the wicked. And if what we read and see in the Bible is truth, that's what's running this planet at the moment. And I know I put out videos about FISA 702, and there's another part of it that I wanted to share with you guys. So the um, the House Committee, the Judiciary House Committee, they had their hearing, right, for FISA 702. The House Judiciary Committee holds the markup hearing for pending legislation. So it's not done this week. Is supposed to be when they finalize the legislation for the reform of the FISA 702, which essentially means they're going to renew it, but they're going to have reforms. They have amendments that they've come up with that are supposedly going to pose as safeguards for quote unquote American citizens to not be targeted by these programs. So the House Judiciary Committee, they had their own meeting, but then there's also the House Intelligence Committee that also will have their 2 cents to put in as well, and the two will then come together to come up with a decision and pass a vote to essentially pass solid legislation for the FISA 702 reform. Now, I've said this on previous videos. I've safeguarded myself, and I am well aware of this. I'm not stupid. I'm not sleep. But, we know that the world is given into the hands of the wicked. We know that this program is ran by the devil. Okay. And there is a possibility that nothing could change. But at the same time, this is an opportunity to put out everything that we know in terms of what the government is supposedly trying to do to fix this. And this is an opportunity for me to showcase on my channel that I am following what's happening in government and legitimately trying to give these people an opportunity to try to fix this stuff. Okay. Can't nobody ever say that none of us looked into this research, followed what was happening in the media pertaining to this. This is it right here. I am well prepared for whatever may happen. It may end, it may not end. It may get a little bit better. It may alleviate some of the atrocities that we go through as targeted individuals. It may get worse. You never know. It could go either way. So I'm simply just putting information out there. I am well aware that, there's no man that can be deemed as savior. Um, because this program, I mean, when in reality, when you look at it, what politician has truly been able to save anyone from what's going on with this? You have all these people that talk the talk, but you don't see the action behind it. So we'll see what happens. I can tell you now that I have never in the history of my life have followed politics as closely as I have now in terms of what's happening with this organized stalking and harassment, this COINTELPRO MK Ultra program that they have out happening to citizens, not just in the U.S., but all across the world. We have to remember that we are not the only ones in the United States that's going through this shit. There are people all over even in Africa, there's people that's dealing with this stuff. Okay. People often say, "Oh, well, why don't you move? Why don't you go to this country or that country?" It does not matter. A lot, if not the majority of all these companies, and not companies, countries, their governments are involved and are fully complicit in what's happening to targeted individuals, okay? At the end of the day, it's all about control. Order out of chaos is the theme of the New World Order. They have to create all this fear and get these dumbasses, these sleep sheep, to go with the narrative that they're trying to put out there, but they don't realize that it's the narrative for complete and total domination and enslavement. And until some of these stupid motherfuckers wake up, this is how it's going to be. Until then, people like us got to suffer. People like us that are trying to put the word out, that are trying to warn people, that are trying to sound the alarm as to what's happening. But hey, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I'm just going to go ahead and play this. I'm not going to play the whole thing. Like I said, I shared this on my last video, the House Judiciary Committee portion of it, as far as the amendments that they had to present towards the bill that they're trying to pass. So now the House Intelligence Committee, they will have their say as well. And there's some key points that this guy right here, I don't remember his name, but that he mentioned that the House Judiciary Committee kind of left out, which I thought was strange. Like, especially Jim Jordan has been such an advocate for the FISA 702 repeal and reform, and the fact that something like that was not mentioned in their version of this was kind of like, things that make you go, type thing. But again, we all know that these people uh, are complicit as a whole. You got, like I've used this analogy before, heads or tails. You got one side that's Republican, the other side is Democrat, but at the end of the day, it's the same damn coin. So let me play some of this. I won't play all of it, and then I'll just kind of make my points as we go through, as usual.
On an unclassified basis. Without objection, the chair may declare a recess at any time. Today's business meeting is being broadcast live and streamed on the committee's YouTube channel. It will be conducted entirely.
Again, this is recent. This is not nothing that's old. This is December 7th. What is today's date? Today is December the 11th. Okay, so this was just last week. This week is supposed to be the week that they actually passed the bill for legislation for the actual reforms to go into effect. So, well, let me just say this is supposed to be the week that they passed the vote for the legislation. I don't know how it works in terms of like how quickly the legislation will go into effect, in terms of like when we would start to see changes in the Department of Justice and these other intelligence agencies making adjustments to where they can't use this on American citizens. I don't know how fast it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be immediate or if it's going to be right when the program was supposed to end, which is the 31st of December. I don't know. Time will tell.
On an unclassified basis. All participants are reminded to refrain from discussing classified or other information protected from public disclosure. The committee will now turn to the legislative business at hand, the markup of H.R. 6611, the FISA Reform and Reauthorization Act of 2023. I ask unanimous consent that any recorded vote be postponed until the completion of consideration of the legislative text and any amendments without objection so ordered. Today, the committee meets to consider H.R. 66111 to amend the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act of 1978, to make certain reforms to the authorities under such act, and to authorize Title VII of such act, and for its reauthorization and for other purposes. The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA, established safeguards on intelligence operations regarding the collection of foreign intelligence. Included in FISA is a critical national security tool known as Section 702, which is a highly targeted collection program that only collects on foreign targets who possess or communicate valuable foreign intelligence information. In short, threats to national security. On December 31, Section 702 will sunset. As a matter of emphasis, I want to reiterate that Section 702 authorizes intelligence collection only on foreign persons who possess or communicate specific types of foreign intelligence information. The authority does not, and with today's bill being marked up, will not allow the intelligence community to target any Americans without a warrant. FISA Section 702 has been reauthorized over the years with very little fanfare. However, this reauthorization is in the spotlight because of the well-documented abuses by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The FBI has abused 702 of FISA. These abuses demonstrate the need for congressional action in the form of comprehensive, meaningful reform, not just to Section 702, but all of FISA, coupled with reauthorization of this vital national security tool. This committee, with the establishment of an internal bipartisan working group, and in parallel, the establishment of a joint Republican working group with the House Judiciary Committee, has committed itself to identifying problems and finding solutions to make FISA a more efficient and effective national security tool, while simultaneously protecting American civil rights and civil liberties by preventing future abuses. H.R. 6611 contains 40 targeted reforms that solve the problems we identified with the FBI's querying features, the Title I application process, and the lack of transparency with the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, known as the FISC. With groups like Hamas, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Hezbollah calling for attacks targeting the homeland and American allies and interests abroad, we are currently at the highest threat to national security to the United States in a decade. FISA is our best weapon to combat the threats we face today and in the future. The American people are looking for us to keep them safe. What we do today to both reform and reauthorize FISA will help ensure that we're doing what we were sent to Washington for. Before I conclude, I want to thank Congressman Darren LaHood and Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick for their efforts in leading our working groups. I also want to thank my ranking member Jim Himes for his bipartisan support throughout this process. Finally, I would.
You remember Darren LaHood was the guy I spoke about, was a U.S. representative from Illinois, I believe, that I spoke about, who stated that he was queried by inappropriately queried, as he stated, by the FBI. Um, and I was just trying to point out, like, oh, this guy doesn't really look like he's being gang stalked or whatever. Like I said, there's different levels to it. Maybe he's going through the rich man's version of gang stalking. Who knows? But just to you know uh, give some recollection as to who he was, the Darren LaHood guy,
like to thank the committee staff
or who he is rather.
for their countless hours they've spent drafting this important legislation. I do want to take a minute and make a few comments about the bill that was passed by Judiciary. Yesterday, the Judiciary Committee passed a bill purporting to be FISA reauthorization and reform. Our bill is targeted to FBI abuses, and I think I would have thought that their bill would have also. However, their bill spends more time expanding the constitutional rights of foreigners who travel in and out of the United States. It creates civil liability for telecommunications companies that work with our intelligence community voluntarily. And curiously, it provides immunity from prosecution for some horrific crimes if they're discovered in 702 foreign intelligence collection. Under their bill, 702 information would not be admissible in criminal prosecutions for horrific crimes such as child pornography, human trafficking, murder.
Targeted individuals are not doing human trafficking, child pornography, whatever bullshit he's talking about. So, maybe they're aware of that. I don't know, but I mean, this whole thing is bullshit. But I just thought it was interesting that he was saying that how their bill or their amendment would basically be geared towards protecting these American citizens from the abuses that the FBI um, have portrayed upon American citizens. So the fact that he was saying that the House Judiciary Committee left that out, I thought that was pretty interesting. But let me continue.
And even money laundering. These are provisions of their bill that they're going to have to explain. Our bill is targeted toward FBI abuses, protecting the American citizens, and ensuring that we can address the national security threats to our nation. With that,
You see, and that's the part that was like things that make you go, like why wouldn't Jim Jordan and the rest of the crew, who seem to be really vocal and advocates for the FISA repeal and not renewing it or reforming it, why wouldn't that be geared towards, you know, additional measures, as this gentleman from the House Intel Committee was saying, to protect the citizen more? And one thing that these agents don't care about, these intelligence agencies, namely the FBI, Department of Justice, and a lot of law enforcement officers, they don't give a shit about the Constitution. A lot of these people don't even know the Constitution. Okay, so and I'm appreciative that they have um, put emphasis on, protecting the Constitution within itself. But if there's anything that's additional that could add more power to it to further protect the citizen, I mean, that should definitely be implemented. And this program is so fucking evil, man. Like, I've been getting calls lately. Remember, I posted a video talking about be careful about who you talk to on the phone, and people that reach out to you out the blue saying that they're targeted and they have foreign accents and stuff like that. Or if you have a Facebook account and you got people from overseas reaching out to you, trying to friend you and stuff like that, be very careful with that, because that's the very ammunition that these intelligence agencies need to portray you as being someone who is communicating with someone who could be a potential terrorist. Again, a lot of these so-called quote-unquote terrorists are created by these intelligence agencies. So they would put these people out there, even on YouTube. Some of these fucking fake TIs you have on the YouTube channels, they are probably created by intelligence agencies and probably have been flagged uh, in a fake way in hopes that you'll reach out to them. And then, aha, the intelligence agency can connect the dots and say, look, we have a valid reason to have this person on this watch list because he is currently having conversations or he's in communication with someone who is a known terrorist that they fucking created. I'm going to share with you a call that I got on WhatsApp today of a woman, what appears to be a woman. The thumbnail shows a picture of a woman. It could be anybody, right? I'm going to share that with you later on in this video. I got this call earlier today. Clearly, this number is an international number. Now, I did not answer this call. This person called 2 or 3 times. I did not answer the call. And in fact, I actually blocked the number, but the number is still on my call list because I wanted to share it with other targeted individuals just to show you how slick and evil these motherfuckers are. With the oversight that they're trying to implement with these programs, with these reforms rather, I hope that they dig deeper with a fucking microscope and go through each case, if possible. It ain't no telling how many people they got on this list. I've heard millions. Some people say it's thousands or hundreds of thousands. That would be a lot of work. But they need to really look at these cases of some of these people that are on these lists, and they need to look at both sides of it. They need to see the bullshit that's being done to us as well. They can't just go off of information they're getting from these intelligence agencies because obviously these intelligence agencies are fucking corrupt. I mean, you have FISA court judges that have said this. You have courts, judges that have looked at all this stuff and have said that the FBI has gone above and beyond what they were supposed to do to protect this country. And what they have in fact done is violated the constitutional rights of American citizens. Okay. Again, I'm going to share the screenshot of the number that I got today. And I will say here today, I do not know who this fucking woman is. I have never talked to this woman before in my life. I don't even know what country this number is from. But it don't take a rocket scientist to see that this number is an international number and that it's not a number that is um, relevant to the United States of America. All right, let me continue playing this footage. Matter of fact, I'm going to go back a little bit. 1 second.
Chairman may postpone for the proceedings today.
It's not this one. It's the other one I was playing, the House Intelligence Committee one. I'm just going to go back a little bit where he's talking about how, uh, they didn't implement more measures to actually protect the American citizen from the abuses of the FISA 702 via the Department of Justice and company.
702 information would not be admissible in criminal prosecutions for horrific crimes such as child pornography.
Let me go back just a little bit more.
Under their bill, 702 information would not be admissible in criminal prosecutions for horrific crimes such as child pornography, human trafficking, murder, and even money laundering. These are provisions of their bill that they're going to have to explain. Our bill is targeted toward FBI abuses, protecting the American citizens, and ensuring that we can address the national security threats to our nation. With that, I want to recognize my ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm very proud to support the FISA Reform and Reauthorization Act of 2023. For the better part of a year, the House Intelligence Committee has worked diligently and collaboratively on an unprecedented basis on this bill, starting from the premise that it is essential that we reauthorize Section 702 of FISA, but that we cannot and will not do so without significant reforms. I cannot stress enough the background work that went into this product over the last year. Frankly, I've never seen anything quite like it in my 15 years in Congress. Hearing after hearing, hundreds if not thousands of meetings and get-togethers with every element of the government that uses or touches or is interested in 702 authorities, meetings with FISA judges, privacy advocates.
Okay, so that's enough of that. So again, I just wanted to share the House Intelligence Committee's take on what they're trying to implement with this bill. And like I said, later on this week, and I'm watching this thing like a hawk, they will come together and vote on, the bill to go ahead and pass it into legislation for the reform. So it looks like they're going to actually reform it. Who knows? Maybe something could happen and they could just say, fuck it, do away with it. But I don't see that happening. But so yeah. And what else did I want to say? Oh, there's another part to. So again, this is almost 30 minutes long. I've watched the whole thing myself. Take it upon yourself to watch this. If you're a targeted individual, this is important and relevant to you. So it's important for you to watch this and just, come up with your own, thoughts and what you think may or may not happen. Please share in the comment section, of course. But there's a part of this that I wanted to share, which I thought was so this video here is just almost 5 minute clip of what was included in this House Intelligence Committee hearing here. Okay, so I just wanted to point this out immediately. So this guy, he comes up as an advocate for reform and what have you, talking about some personal things that he has dealt with the reform. But look at what he has over his fucking eye. Now, do any of us think that this is coincidence? No. As targeted individuals, we already know what time it is with this shit. What does this symbolize? The one eye. The one-eyed devil, right? The Illuminati, the New World Order. Okay? How symbolic is this shit? And to have somebody like this come on this House Intel Committee talking about reform for FISA, this is like a slap in the face, right? This is like them literally telling you ain't shit gonna change, pretty much. I mean, I'm almost willing to bet there's nothing wrong with this dude's eye. I mean, I haven't done the research. I haven't looked up his name to see what happened to his eye, whatever. But how coincidental is it that this is a situation where they're talking about reforming a program that has that is involved in violating the constitutional rights of American citizens, and it's during a time where you have all this stuff going on with the uprising of the New World Order, the Illuminati, and all this kind of stuff. How coincidental is it that there just so happens to be something wrong with his eye? All this shit is symbolism. Okay, so it's very unsettling at this point that anything is if anything is even going to change at this point. I'm just speaking my mind. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong, but let's hear what this dude has to say.
I think it's important to make a statement about. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for holding this markup. I think it's important to make a statement about FISA reauthorization, what it means, and the current debate that's happening regarding FISA reauthorization. This committee, and I can't take a lot of credit for this, but members of this committee have worked months and months and months to come up with reforms that I think are absolutely needed. And for the public listening, to put it simply, those reforms would have prevented the abuses of Crossfire Hurricane that occurred against President Trump. If this is passed, those abuses could not have happened, and many other abuses as well. A lot of thought has been put into how to reform FISA 702, and I'll tell you what, I don't think the FBI likes a lot of these reforms. And yet, there is disagreement here on whether or not we should pass.
See, did you hear what he said? There was a part of it that the House Judiciary Committee failed to address that could have very well prevented the type of harassment that President Trump is receiving. If any of you have followed what's going on with President Trump in the news, any targeted individual can identify with what he's dealing with. Because I personally can attest that the same shit he was going through with court cases being brought against him, to all these lies and rumors and half-truths and all this stuff, fake news and all this, the same shit is happening to me, okay? The same exact kind of targeting. That's why I relate to what Trump is dealing with. Now, again, I'm not with any political party. I'm not with the Q movement. I'm not with that shit. I am not with President Trump. I am not with President Biden. I am not with any of these people. All I'm saying is when you look at some of the things that's happening in the media in terms of what's going on with Trump, I can identify with what's happening to Trump. I can't identify with President Biden. Okay? So but that doesn't make me a Republican. I'm just saying, based off of what he's dealing with and going through, I can identify with that persecution wholeheartedly. I've been through the court cases, which I'm going to share with you guys at a video in this point. The time that I got arrested malicious prosecution is what it was. Unlawfully arrested for crimes that I didn't even fucking commit. For crimes that I had evidence that I showed these dumbass Polk County Sheriff deputies that I was innocent. But again, they had an agenda that night to take me in regardless of what evidence I had. Okay. So again, I can relate. I say that to say this. I can relate to the persecutions that Trump's going through with the court cases wholeheartedly. Let me finish playing what this guy's talking about.
Form FISA 702. And tell you what, I don't think the FBI likes a lot of these reforms. And yet there is disagreement here on whether or not we should pass it. There are members of both parties that want additional reforms. And I can't tell you how concerned I am about those proposals. Usually when we disagree up here, and there's a lot of disagreements, and the outcomes of those disagreements are not always that consequential. The world keeps turning. America is really hard to screw up. That's what I love.
Maybe they'll go ahead and dismiss this shit. Maybe they will go ahead and just cancel the reform because obviously with what he's saying, there's disagreement. They felt like the House Judiciary Committee could have implemented more amendments type thing. So again, this committee, the House Intel Committee and the House Judiciary Committee, okay, they have to come together this week to decide on whether or not they're going to pass the amendments that they've proposed into law, into legislation, or if they're just going to say fuck it and just cancel the FISA 702. So that's what I was saying earlier. There was an individual, forgive me, let me go to his channel. He was asking me, he made a comment right here. God strengthens me. What did he say? One second. He sent me this link, and this link was basically talking about how, you know, they've passed legislation already or something to that fact. Okay, so House Intel Committee passes FISA Section 702 reauthorization. So when you listen to what they're talking about, that's not exactly what's happening there. They have to come together and make the decision this week. So that's why I said it's not completely official. The bill has to go to the Senate for the final vote. So that's what's going to happen this week. It has to go to the Senate for the actual final vote on whether or not they go ahead and renew it with the amendments that they have that they're going to implement for the program, or if they're just going to be like, fuck it, we're just not going to renew it. So that's why I responded. So sometime next week, which I made this comment last week, obviously, is when they'll decide. So there's that. Let me finish playing this.
About America. This one really concerns me. I come from a national security background. I have actively tracked bad guys. I've actively tracked terrorists. I know what it takes to investigate and all of the different threads that you have to pull.
It is hard to trust what this dude is saying with this patch over his goddamn eye. I'm gonna tell you that right there. I'm looking at this. It's reminding me of one headlight vehicles. Like I'm getting traumatized from even looking at this shit right now. I'm thinking about one headlight vehicles. Looking at this shit.
To conduct that investigation and eventually find the guy who wants to harm or kill or spy on Americans. It takes a lot of work and it takes some flexibility.
Who the hell wants to spy and man? People are busy trying to. Do you see how bad the economy is? Do you see how much gas prices are, food prices are? Who has time to sit up there to try to concoct some sort of way to kill a bunch of Americans when people are out there trying to struggle to survive? These people are fucking full of shit. There is nothing on my mind about going out and harming anybody. I make very little fucking money. I don't make much money at all. My focus is on surviving, trying to prepare for the future, trying to, save up as much as I possibly can type thing, which is what a lot of Americans are trying to do, especially Americans with families. Not just Americans, people across the world. People are trying to make it and survive. Nobody's trying to plot shit on killing a bunch of fucking Americans. Anything having to do with that is the result of intelligence agencies manipulation, MK Ultra. Okay, that's what's happening. It's like, who are these people fooling? Like, it's amazing that there are people out there that even believe a word of what's coming out these people's mouths in terms of a so-called foreign threat. You motherfuckers are the foreign threat. It ain't nobody else but you, and the intelligence agencies are the threat, period. Domestic and foreign. It's them. Let me continue.
Now, that flexibility can't be endless, which is why we're doing additional reforms to an already very strict process. But the reforms coming out of the Judiciary Committee are downright terrifying. It effectively would dismantle FISA 702 as we know it. They'll market it as simply saying, well, look, we're just protecting people's Fourth Amendment rights. We're just saying that you have to have a warrant before search and seizure. That's how it will be represented to you. That is not true. That is not exactly what their reforms do. What their reforms do, the proper analogy would be saying that you need a warrant every time a cop wants to run a license plate. So every time a police officer sees a car go by.
Now that's fucking stupid. Like he's already, his credibility is going downhill with that comment. Like, come on now. I don't think it's saying that a cop is going to need a warrant before running a license plate. No, like this dude again. Just look at the symbolism. That's all you got to do.
That's speeding or driving erratically, and he wants to run that license
That
plate.
all-seeing eye, one patch
You
you
would
got
need a
on.
warrant. That's, of course, not how we do things. We're able to access databases with information that we already have, lawfully have. I don't know if the people proposing these reforms understand that. I do know that they've never done my job to try and find terrorists and pull on those threads of information in order to find those terrorists. I do know that they've never done that and know how difficult it actually is. I do know that they don't see what we see on the Intelligence Committee of the massive number of threats that our country is facing. They have seen the FBI director recently say that we have never seen more red alarms going off around the world when it comes to threats against the homeland. And I absolutely believe him because, of course, we see it from our own position here, but also it's intuitive. It's obvious. You have an open border where anyone can get in. You have China on the march. You have Venezuela considering an invasion. You have Iran creating chaos in the Middle East. You have Hamas committing atrocities against Israel. You have Russia invading Ukraine. Of course, there are red alarms going off everywhere. And for us to say that we should dismantle one of our primary intelligence collection tools in the midst of all this is so completely insane that I wish it were funnier, but it's not. This is the one thing, this is the one big disagreement in Congress that actually should frighten the hell out of us. And with that, I yield back.
Okay, so with what was being said there, you know, obviously
That's it.
there's some obviously I hate when this shit does that. I didn't even push play for that
Massive
shit.
number.
It just started playing. So you know, obviously there's some disagreements and stuff like that. So it'll be pretty interesting to see what happens this week. This week is supposed to be the week that they vote for the bill and stuff like that. Something else I wanted to clarify on some comments that I've had on previous videos in reference to uh, immigration and people that come to this country illegally. My father was a foreigner, right? But my father came to this country legally. He went through all the processes, the paperwork, all the legality that is required to be here in a legal stance. My father went through all that and he did it legally. Okay. Now, I am against immigrants who come to this country that are criminals, that are pedophiles, that are human traffickers, that are part of drug cartels. That's what I'm against. I just want to be very clear. I'm not against people that are trying to flee persecution themselves, because I realize in a lot of these third world countries, you know, places that are not really well to do, or maybe as well to do as the U.S., you could say, Mexico, um, you know, some other South American countries, um, and other places. You know, you do have people that come over here that are legitimately trying to flee from terrorism themselves. Okay. So I would say people like that, they should make a way for people like that. I don't think that they should um, turn those types of people away. But it's the drug cartels, it's the human traffickers, you know, these scammers. All these types of people are the ones that should be kept out of the fucking country. Okay. Um, and you know, they're immigrants from all over the world. You know, Africa, Russia, you know, China. They've had video footage of a lot of Chinese immigrants coming over that they're letting into the country as well. None of these fucking people should be allowed over here if they weren't over here illegally over here, and if they are fucking criminals. And I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, again, you know, you got people that's trying to flee persecution. Is, you know, it's not their fault. It's just the hand they were dealt. It's just what they were born into. You know, they can't help it. They're just doing what they can to survive. So I just want to be clear on that. I think I made comments on that previously where I didn't really clarify. I was just like, oh, all illegal immigrants should be taken out of the country and this, that, and the other. And that's not what I meant. I didn't clarify what I was really trying to say. But anyways, so yeah, we'll see what happens with this FISA 702 reform. Again, it's an interesting watch, and I'm definitely going to watch it, and I will post whatever information I come across. And oh, I said before that I was going to mention that I got a phone call from an international number. Let me go ahead and share that with you. 1 second. I got to go into my email for that, and I'm not going to share me going into my email, so I'll have to come back and I'm going to cut this video. I'll be back. Okay, so I'm back. I screenshotted the screenshot from my cell phone from my WhatsApp application. So I'm gonna share with you the 1 second. Okay, so this is the phone call I got from this individual. Okay, obviously there's no name attached to it, so this person is not in my contacts. This is a number that I got that was calling. This person called twice. Okay, I never answered any of the fucking calls. I do not know who the fuck this lady is. I have never seen her before in my life or anything. Okay, but this is the number. Clearly, this is a international phone number. Okay, this is not a number that is from the US. I didn't Google the number or anything like that because like I said, these fucking intelligence agencies will orchestrate shit like this and have these type of numbers call people that's on a watch list so they can further give validation to having you on this fraudulent ass terror watch list. I am not in communications with anybody that is abroad at all. I'm on a dating app as well. I'm not going to say which one, but on that dating app, do you know somebody from a foreign country contacted me on that dating app? Okay. And again, these are the types of things that these people will do to say, look, he's in contact with people that are foreigners. These people are tied to terrorist organizations, blah, blah, blah. So that's why I say be very careful about dealing with people with foreign accents. If you're a targeted individual, getting communications from somebody that's from abroad, be very careful with that shit. That's all I'm saying. So this is my case in point and proof of what I'm talking about. This just happened today at 2. This was while I was working when I got this fucking phone call. Like I had my cell phone set on vibrate, and I always have my cell phone in my vicinity when I'm working, and my phone started buzzing, and I'm looking over. I'm like, who the hell is this? And then I saw the number, almost answered it, but I took a step back. I say, oh, hell no, that's an international number. I'm not answering that shit. Okay. I've even gone through other social media stuff and I've deleted anybody who has tried to friend me or has friended me that's from abroad, people that I don't know. I'm like, I click on some of these accounts and I'm like, okay, they're talking about being targeted. I see some of the signs, some of the stuff they're talking about seems legit. Okay, I'll friend them. Not even thinking that this could be a ploy by the intelligence agencies that have hijacked these social media platforms. Okay, so they have these social media platforms hostage, doing the bidding of the Department of Justice for the sake of national security when it's all fraudulent. Okay, so again, just be very mindful and careful. I don't know who this person is for the record for the intelligence agencies that are watching. I don't know who this fucking woman is. I don't know who this number is. I don't talk to people from abroad. Any and everybody I talk to are from here in the U.S. as the best of my knowledge. are American numbers. So let me just put that out there. All right, so that's all I got from now. Leave comments. I'm always interested to know, what you guys' thoughts are. There's so many of you that are so fucking fake, and I'm well aware of it. I know that my channel has been shadow banned. I know that for a fact. But for those of you that are real and true, I want to know what you think. Let me know what your comments are, what your thoughts are, any ideas. Um, so yeah, just let me know. I'll give you an update on any other FISA 702 stuff that comes up. Definitely the decision that comes up later on in the week, in terms of the legislation that they're trying to pass. I'll make a video on that too. All right. Thanks for watching. You guys take care. May the Most High bless and keep you, and have no fear. Um, always, always be strong. No matter what happens, whether this passes or not, the harassment continues. You've made it this far. Don't give up. See this shit through to the end. And just know, always remember, have comfort in knowing that you're not alone. No matter how lonesome it may feel, no matter how isolated you may feel, no matter how much it may feel like there's nothing but devils and demons around you, always know that you got brothers and sisters that are out here that are wishing you well, whose thoughts and prayers are with you, okay, that know exactly what you're going through. All right? Talk to y'all later. This damn mouse.